Cunning, run thing.
Easy. There you go. I saw that. I was actually quite impressed with that.
It kind of went with the intro. Is that the intro for your show?
That is the intro for the show.
Because I've usually, like, when I get showed, lock in here, like, go to this minute. So I kind of jump to the minute. So how are you? Well, welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Okay. So I have this habit of just taking over. You know what I mean?
Do you know what? I'm done, mate. I'm out.
Yeah. So yes, it's DJ Phantasy here, and welcome in the studio, Jay Cunning.
Thank you very much for having me, mate. It's a pleasure, mate. I've always wanted to come on this show.
You've got to big up the cool London family.
Nice. Big up out to East, out to Suze, out to Darkness,
yes,
all the crew. So this is the We Are Hardcore show. Myself, Jay Cunning, and we've got a very special guest in with us today. He's introduced himself.
Yeah.
DJ Phantasy, the man, the legend.
I do my own sound effects, by the way.
Mate, it's an absolute honour. I've been talking to you for a while about getting you on here.
Do you know what? I was actually thinking the other day, I always remember before I actually met you, I read an interview you'd done, and you said that you actually got into the music because of a set I'd done. Is that right?
Yeah, it was Reincarnation, and that's probably going to come up a couple of times.
Okay.
It was just a phenomenal...
Because you were on Kiss at the time, right?
Yes, yeah.
That's right, because I remember there was like some article about Kiss FM, and it was like one to watch for the future.
Do you know what that was? That was Mixmag or Crossfade or X-Fade.
I think it was Mixmag.
Yeah. I'd cited you, Ratty, LSD and Slipmat as my kind of inspirations for kind of mixing and music.
And I thought to myself, oh, that geezer's well safe.
We did actually put cross paths though, didn't we? In the because
I don't know. I used to smoke a lot back then, man. Like, you know, I mean, I don't really. It's so funny because when we went, was you at Clashmouth?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
When I went to if anyone hasn't been to this Clashmouth, you have to. If you love all things like from back in the day, you got to go, because I kind of went there and I was like, I'm just got the book just come out, 3 Generations Deep, and I wanted to kind of, I was told about this place is where a lot of people from back in the day kind of converge. I really went there with no expectations, and I tell you now, I come out of there, and I just the vibe was just immense. Like I see so many artists I hadn't seen for ages, years. J Magic, I hadn't seen him for time. Steve Digital, I hadn't seen him for ages. There's the Hospital Boys were there, and it was just quite mad. But the most important thing for me was like I had people coming up to me that were like fans of this music from this era, telling me about tracks I made, and I genuinely was like, mate, I have no clue what you're talking about. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know, we'll talk about this because it was very classic kind of back in the day, like late 80s, early 90s, where DJs or producers, it wasn't about building a brand. It was about making music, coming up with all these different names. Rob Playford, God knows how many names he had. Ron Wells. I mean, my God, that guy had so many synonyms.
Well, the funny thing is, talking about that, I'm currently, at the moment, I'm going through loads of DATs. If you follow me on Instagram, DJ Phantasy, you'll see recently I put a picture up of loads of DATs. And I don't know why I did it, but like I've got so many tunes. I mean, even today I was like editing something, well, basically bouncing it down to WAV of a track I'd done called This Is a Dream, but I put it out as Tetris. I didn't put it out as DJ Phantasy. So I don't know what was happening in them times there, because now you pretty much put your name on everything. It doesn't
exactly.
But back then, we just seem to keep making these pseudonames. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what the reason was. Why we did it, but
some of the reasons one, obviously it was quite a sample culture has been around for a long time, but that was quite a big part of that music, taking hip hop beats and acapellas and vocals and what have you. But also
you're worried about, you think we were worried about getting caught like for sampling. I think that was the last thing on our mind. But the thing is what I kind of think is, and I'm trying to sort of tell, like some of the kids that are about now coming into the music and that, and what I always say to people, what got us into the music, what made us fall in love with the music at whatever era we fell in love. Like, for me, it was 88, 89, you know, just as I discuss in the book, it's like, you know, it was just like, wow, I can't believe all these different people from different backgrounds are all together partying as one. But you know what it is I kind of just I just need to make this music. I couldn't believe I even found it in a record shop when I found it on Vinyl Zone Kings Road. I couldn't believe I actually found it. And then as you go along, you kind of, you know, and we got into it for fun. It was like fun. It was just like amazing fun to make a tune, rather than like now, you know, maybe people are taking it too technical, and it's, you know, they've taken the fun element out of it. Where I think that's my focus at the moment, is just, it's got to be about fun. You know, the bottom line is, if we don't enjoy making it, how do we expect people listening to it to enjoy it? So back then I was listening to some of the stuff. I've got so much unreleased stuff that I made, and I don't know why I never released it. Aphrodite and I have just released a 12-inch vinyl from 1992, I think, or 93, that never got released, and I didn't even know it never got released. And it was Aquasky. He's got a thing called Vinyl Fanatics, and he's like re-releasing old vinyl for
He gets
people.
picked up on the show a lot.
So
big fan of them.
so he Spider actually called me, MC Spider, the tarantula. He called me up and he was like, look, this guy Aquasky wants to talk to you. And I'm like, well, I know Aquasky, but I didn't know him personally. Anyway, got talking to him, and at first he was like, yeah, we could do this, and I was a bit I don't know, I was a bit skeptical. But going to Clashmouth and seeing people like have this passion for this music that was made 25, 30 years ago, it kind of made me think, you know what? Yeah, I think I need to probably look at this a little bit more. Do you understand what I mean? And it was like just really humbling, like how to see so many people, like, because me, I'm a kind of, I remember that era and I love that era. It was amazing, but I'm very much a forward thinker. I think about now and what's going to happen next year and the year after. I try to always forward think, but like being there, it did actually make me kind of go, you know what, there's something here. And you know, there is and obviously I've been doing more questions. I've been asking. I spoke to Steve Digital, and he was telling me his experiences. J Magic told me he released an album, and you know the response he got from it. And so I've now started telling people like Mampy Swift and certain other people, listen, you need to really sort of take this, you know, look at this. This is a movement. This is something that's going
100%.
on. Then there's obviously you doing this, like with the show. You know, so there is a platform for it. And whilst I don't think we can turn back time, because you know, you have to leave it where it was. But there's no reason it should never be forgotten. And I think like just sort of kind of going off topic here, but it is on topic. What's happened is like there's never really been much documentation of the rave scene, like in terms of like if you look at Netflix, they'll tell you all about these wonderful
EDM scenes,
like the you know, the Carl Cox era. Carl Cox was my friend. He stayed in my house. Like we went on tour together. We were like best mates. And you know, again, I talk about in the book. Funnily enough, he sent me a message not long ago through his manager, Ian, which was great. It was lovely to hear from him. So I don't know if he read the book, but or read his part in it. But the thing is we were all one back then, and then what happened is it all kind of like separated. But the thing is like there's not enough things that are documenting what happened. I know recently, the other day, Terry Turbo, I still call him Terry Turbo.
The
MC Free and Easy.
Yes.
Sorry, Tell. But so Terry's just brought out this documentary, you know, talking about One Nation and its part in the thing. But there's not enough things like that, you know. I don't. For those that don't know, I'm involved in a group now, SAS. You know, we've kind of taken things like from underground to quite a commercial stage, but still doing what we do. But the thing is we did a documentary. I was in meetings with like Amazon, with Netflix, and all of them, and like I was showing them stats. Look at the stats that we have. And this wasn't just documenting now, although it was documenting now. I'm going back to, I was getting archive footage from the BBC. So I've actually got BBC archive footage in the documentary. Way. I got it all licensed, all signed off, paid for and everything. And they were just like, no. And I'm just like, mate, you just put it on there. Let the people decide if they want to. And, you know, and it's such a shame. I think we need more things documented. So what you're doing with the show, what Vinyl Fanatics and Clashmouth and all these people are doing, I think it's commendable. It needs to be more supported because, you can't never forget that era. And if this is a kind of a part of a process of documenting that moment in time, for example,
100%.
I'm just sorry I'm waffling, but Jack Smooth, right? I'm going to tell you now, that guy's done more for this music back in the day than he ever gets credit for. Why? I don't understand it, because he's not, you know, loud, and, you know, he's not one of those guys. Do you know what I'm saying?
Just loves and supported the music.
He just does it, and he wouldn't even, you know, he would just do it. He just, you know, he would just be, you know, it was a hub, and he was involved in the background of a lot of people's stuff and never took no credit for it. Just was just happy to help. He was doing his own thing, but. You know, why hasn't that been documented? Even if it was like a 30-minute documentary, just put it on YouTube or something. Somebody needs to grab this ball by the horn and just like kind of document this stuff. So any video guys out there, or ladies or teams or whatever, you know, think about it. There's a history here. There's a lot of history, and there's a lot of people. Don't forget, in my book, I talk about that's my journey, and my journey meeting certain people along the way. Don't forget, Groove Rider's got a journey. Frost has got a journey. Like, you know, Fabio. They've all got. Everyone's got their own journeys to how. But
getting those to weave together, 100% with you on that. You know, for me, you know, I lived and breathed the rave scene from, you know, 91, I was going to Stearns, 92, you know, and all the way through to 94, 95, 96. And, you know, at the time, I think there was Music Mag. They didn't touch the music with a barge pole. I think Mix Mag around again, they didn't cover it. You obviously didn't have the internet. So it's not only about not forgetting it for me, it's about filling in the holes. Because I've got my own, I've got a vast, I mean, I lived in New Zealand for the whole of 93. So I missed the whole of that era. And I'll be honest with you, I've said this many times, I partly do these for selfish reasons because I want to hear the stories. And I think it's amazing that other people want to hear those stories as well. Because, you know, nowadays, everything's far more transparent with social media, and it's far easier to see it, you know, whether people are showing the highs and lows or just the highs or whatever. But, you know, Ron Wells, you know, Jack Smooth, for example, I did, you know, 2 interviews with him. It was 3 hours. And I tell you, I could have done another 3 easy.
The funny thing is, I was just flicking. I still haven't been able to. It's just too, like, you know, really what I need to do, you need to put it into an audio book or something. Just to, like, you know, or even put it on a podcast so it can just, like, the whole lot, like, in one, like on Spotify or something like that, so that when you're on the road you can go. But I haven't managed to listen to it all, but I mean, I have heard little bits of it, and you know, as I say, there's just so much history. And don't forget, the beautiful thing about this music going back from like 88, 89, how many people like have came into the music at some point and, you know, gone. Like, even I was weird enough, I was on the phone to TC today because we've got a new song coming out, and we were talking about this, and I was talking about, like, you know, there's a guy that was called, his name was Brian Monitor, DJ Monitor from Skeleton Records. And like he was on the cusp of doing something, and he was like, I remember he was a West London boy, and like he was such a safe guy, and the next thing you're gone. Just went missing. I was like, and then he resurfaced.
Love to Love You was a massive check.
They'd done loads of stuff. They were doing bits back then. Do you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, just think of the thousands of people that all have their little bit of story that, you know, there's this massive jigsaw puzzle that needs to be put together, because, you know, at the end of the day, everybody, no matter how small or how large their contribution, is a contribution. And I think, again, just going back to my point, I think it needs to be documented. Do you know what I mean?
I'm 100% with you. But look, we're here today to get your part of the story. I've got to say, I've read quite a few books on DJs and artists' experience, you know, from coming through from when they started to now. And nothing's quite hit the mark for me. You know, I again, from that selfish perspective, you know, I lived and breathed that 91 to 94 era, and for me, there's a lot of stories that have not been told yet. Some books were like, oh, you know, I was really into kind of acid house, and then jungle came along. It's like, hold on a minute, what happened to those kind of 2-3 years in the middle? Other books I've read where they haven't quite represented it in a positive sense. And I've got to say, 3 Generations Deep came with a breath of fresh air. Like, I whizzed through that the first half of that book and thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, really good storytelling, good stories, and, you know, it went into detail and in depth, and it was weird because I always like to kind of, to get in the mode of doing these interviews, I'll listen to mixes, and I've got probably about at least 10 of yours that I've got. I listened to them and I heard that they sounded so different, because I had your head and I'd read your story and how you were feeling, what you were doing, who you were living with, who you were working with for a studio, and it was like listening to a whole new mix all over again.
That's mad. I mean, the thing is, like, first of all, I want to big up Dave Jenkins.
Yes,
because,
indeed, mate.
Dave Jenkins, he, he put my words. I remember him saying to me once, "Look, you just write and don't worry about spelling mistakes. Don't worry about whatever. Just write." And I remember I was on tour in New Zealand and Australia. I was on my own, and all the shows were sold out. It was like amazing. But I had this 3-day gap, and what I should have done is I should have stayed in New Zealand, because New Zealand was like proper vibing. But I went to I think it might have been Adelaide, and what happened was I kind of was just sort of like in the hotel in Adelaide. Like, once I'd been up the main street, I'd kind of done everything, and then I kind of just sat in the room. I remember thinking, right, the missus is asleep, kids are asleep, and I thought all the boys are asleep, and I just remember thinking it was like 4 PM there, it was 4 AM, like, and I was just like, I never felt so lonely in my life. And I've toured the world, and it was the first time ever in 30 years that I actually thought, bloody hell, I actually felt quite like sort of isolated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I did it, like, the promoters, they sort of said, we'll see you at 8 o'clock tonight for food and all that. But there was just like no communication. Even when I was looking online, the timeline was just empty, like nothing really going on. So I just opened up the laptop and I thought, right. And I think I wrote on them 3 days, I wrote probably about 10 of the chapters. I mean, I went in, and it was so mad because I remember I was just writing, I was getting up, making a cup of tea, I was going back down, my eyes were watering at certain points. And do you know what? Someone said something to me which kind of made me reflect, and it felt like a bit of a therapy session, kind of going through it, going from, finding the music and like sort of being like wowed by this music to suddenly like, finding that you can actually buy, or what you can actually buy this music. I couldn't actually believe you could get this music on vinyl. It was unbelievable. And, I'd be just looking at this vinyl like, oh my God, this is amazing, to get in decks. And then I'm the type of person that I think, like, I always remember my cousin Eamon, who features in the book, because he's been with me since I'm 3 months older than him, so he's been with me pretty much all my life. But he said to me, like, you always, he goes, what I like about you is you always sort of say, I'm going to do this, and you do it. Yeah. And that's what I do. So what it is, I remember going like, oh, I want to get some decks, and we got these rubbish belt drives, and not realize you actually need a mixer to. So the thing is, like, there's another thing I do discuss in the book is, like, people grow up going, oh no, I'm going to be a DJ. I was going to be a carpenter. Yeah. Everything in my head was I was going to be working on the buildings with my dad, and then I went and worked on the buildings and realised, bloody hell, this is hard work. Do you know what I mean? So I take my hats off to all the tradesmen, because that is a proper graft. Do you know what I mean? But it
wasn't seen, wasn't seen as a viable option. Like, I work with a group of kids between sort of 15 and 18. And all of their parents, it's phenomenally inspiring how supportive they are. Because it is...
weren't that back in the day?
No, mate. Exactly. If I turned around to my dad at 17, 18 and said I want to be a DJ, he would have just laughed me out the door.
Yeah, I actually have that. I don't. Do I talk about that in the book, where I had to get my mum, I had to pay my mum
50
money.
quid too.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. I paid my mum £50 because I didn't have to... I was a bit scared to tell my dad. I was like, obviously I worded it a bit more real in the book, but I kind of just was like, how do I tell my dad this? I said, Mum, do you want to earn £50? And she was like, oh, what do I need to do? And I went, just tell Dad I need a year off to concentrate on music. That in itself, my dad was not happy about it, and that in itself was my drive. Yeah, I had to make it work. Otherwise, I was going to be back on the site, like, filling skips and that. And I just it was definitely a focus. It got me focused and that. But it's I forgot what I was actually saying, because I was waffled on or something. But the book's out now, guys.
So look, I want to go back to what's the kind of earliest point, or like a tune or a memory that sparked all of this off?
I think, basically how I even found out about it. Oh yes, I was going to say I didn't even know I wanted to be a DJ, and I said, I want to make music, and and that's, I kind of just set goals. I want to be a DJ. I become a DJ. I want to make music. But just going back to your question, There wasn't really a point. I'll tell you what. I remember the first time my mate, me and my cousin, we hung around in Fulham and Chelsea. Yeah. So what it is like that's where my cousins lived in Fulham, right next to Chelsea football ground.
Yeah.
And what happened was we were hanging around on the Cremont estate, by the World's End estate, and this a friend of ours, Darren Beasley, who sells retro clothes. Actually, that's his business now. He's selling all real old retro clothes.
It was new back then, though.
But back then it was all fresh. Do you know what I mean? But he does it now. But anyway, he came to us and he went to actually my mate Donald, and he was like, "Oh mate, you should come to this thing. It's like a warehouse party, acid house." So Donald, like when we was all in the pub. I'm not a drinker. I never have been, but I went to the pub because that's where everyone else was. Anyway, they went to a rave, and then the next day, Donald was like, "Mate, there's this thing called Acid House. You lot got to come." And so everyone was like, "All right, we'll go next week." So because every week there was an Acid House rave on.
What year was this?
This would have been 88.
Right.
So what happened was we went, and like I'll tell you what we did. Sorry, before we went, Jean-Michel Jarre was doing a concert at the Docklands. Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
I remember him. 88 or 89. I have to check that. Whatever that was the time. So if I'm wrong, my dates, forgive me. But I'm pretty sure it was 88. So he was doing a thing at the Docklands, and then what happened is my mate turned around and went, "Yeah, I got these acids." Right? I remember they looked like just bits of plastic.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, everyone just take a bit of this, and we're going to go to see Jean-Michel Jarre." So we went on the thing. I took it, but I'll be honest with you. I thought I was tripping, but I wasn't. Like, I genuinely wasn't. It wasn't until about 3 months later when I really tripped that I was going, "Oh my God, is this what it is?" And they were like, "What have you been doing for the last 3 weeks, like 3 months?" I said, "I didn't know. I thought I was." But I kind of realised that if you stare at something long enough, it's going to move.
Yeah.
So I'd be staring and they'd be going, "Can you feel it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just see it move," but it wasn't. It was just my eyes were going like that.
Do you remember that picture that used to have all the dots and you had to stare through it and the image would come in?
Oh yeah, no, but this would be me staring at like trees, not realising that the wind was making the trees move, and I'm going, it's working, and it really wasn't. So anyway, we went to see Jean-Michel Jarre. And I just remember it was at that time when everything was like new, you got to try it. You know, I remember going, "Oh, I would never take ecstasy ever." And then like when I realised that acid was really dirty, you just don't, please, if you've ever done it, if you've ever not done it, don't ever do it. It's really bad. But the thing is so basically, like I remember that week or that week after or something, we went to this warehouse rave, and I just remember being in there and I was just looking at everybody, and there was like, you know, it's just like a big multicultural, like there was just people from all walks of life, all backgrounds. And do you know what? No one was even looking at each other. They were just dancing, and it weren't like, you know, when I was growing up and I used to go to Dingles and that, when I used to get, my stepdad used to let me in when I was 14, like, and everyone would have certain, you know, like a song come on, you have a certain dance. Now, I'm not the best mover, although, but I'm not the best mover. But the thing is the one thing I loved as well was people were just doing all sorts of madness, and no one was looking at them going, "Oh, look at them." Yeah. And I just thought, this is amazing. Like everybody's just here together under one roof, and you know, just and that's mostly what grabbed my attention, was just like, you know, white, black, Asian, everyone under one roof. And I just was, and it was just so friendly, and it was just calm. And I remember this girl come up to me, and she was from Holland, and she grabbed my hand and she was like, "Oh, come with me." And so she's walking me around this warehouse, and she's going, "Oh, this is Steve, da, da, da." And I'm thinking she knew everybody. She didn't know anybody. She's just out of her nut. And I'm walking around going, "All right, hello." And it was just, honestly, and I come out of there and I just felt, this is amazing. And the first thing I wanted to do is I want to do it again. I suppose it's like skydiving. If you do it and you get that adrenaline rush. I suppose that's what it was. I was realising things in myself. I'm going through therapy again. But it was kind of like I just wanted to do it again. And I'm the kind of person that when I get into something, I get into it. I don't do things by halves. Do you know what I mean? And it was just an amazing time. So one thing I'll say, when I talk to people, they always kind of go, "Oh yeah," you know, they'll go, "Oh yeah, 2000 was my year, or 97 was my year, or 95," or like you say, "Oh, your ears were 91 to 94." Yeah. For me, it was 88, 89. Yeah. Because I find that your favourite time is always the time you find it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you see the kids that are finding EDM now. Yeah. This will be They'll go on to like other styles of music, but they'll be like, oh man, you know, in 10 years time, they'll be talking. They'll be like, man, you know, back then that was the time. And I think that's just, you know, that's just a thing. You know, like when I sold all my vinyl, like I just sold it all. I was a bit skinned. I know people are like, oh,
I'm crying inside.
Yeah, no, I sold everything except 88, 89.
Okay.
Did not sell that because that, to me, that's just irreplaceable. I actually, when I sold all of the other stuff, I actually went on a buying spree and I bought a load of things that got taken off me by the DTI when I did I did a London Underground show. And so when that got took, I just kind of done my best to kind of replace that. So yeah, I still have them, and even if I never play them again, they're just there.
Yeah, they're memory cards, aren't they?
Yeah,
and you know, and I'll pull out any record from my collection, and if I've bought it back in the day, it will trigger something, or it might trigger a complete blank. But you know, there's a story between, you know, parts of collections and stuff. So I went the other way. I've started buying records to fill the gaps in from back then, because I said to myself about 3 years ago, right, for my little old man retirement project, I'm going to fill in all the gaps, because 91 to 93, 4, you know, I was just working in the greengrocers, or, you know, just doing whatever to make some money. Could only really afford to buy a couple of records a week, and of course, you know, there was 500 or 1,000 of these are white labels, and that was it. They were gone. So I built up all my want lists on Discogs, and I thought, why am I waiting? I'll just do it now.
That Discogs is mad, isn't it?
It's like crack,
I see someone write something the other day. Now, I don't really get drawn in, but someone put up something like that I never produced the records, and I actually replied. I never reply, but I actually replied, what a ridiculous thing to say. Of course I produced them. Do you know what I mean? And I just thought, like, well, this geezer, he's probably like 22 years old. You know, I've been, you know, do you know what I'm saying? I don't know who he is, but I just thought, what an actually ridiculous thing to say. I never produced them. Like it doesn't matter. Just want to clear this up. If you make a record with me, or I make a record with you, I ain't letting you put it out with just Jay Cunning. My name is going to be on that record too. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's as simple as that. Anyone that would do that otherwise must be either silly or getting paid a seriously lot of money. And you know, so I just thought that was quite ridiculous. But that Discogs is quite mad. I've been actually looking on there, and this is where I found out that I've been releasing records under various different names. You know what I mean? Like,
was this part of the research you doing for the book? So I do actually want to ask you about that as well, because, you know, let's face it, pretty much everyone in their adult life at some point has said, oh, I'd love to write a book about my life. And then they've never thought anything more about it.
Again, it just goes back to what I say, you know, like what my cousin Eamon said is, you know, you say you want to do something and you do it. And I've just had a deja vu, that's quite mad. But the thing is, you know, I decided 2 years before that got released that you know what, on September the 30th, 2019 will be 30 years to the day where I got my name, Phantasy, and I got my name off of that infamous rave at Reigate. The one where the police got the van overturned. That's actually in the SSS documentary.
Really?
That's what I talk about, where I got my name from. And then so there was, you know, a bit of rave history there. And then what happened was I was selling tickets for. I do talk about this in the book. So you do,
and this is what I find really inspiring, because I was probably about 2 years behind you.
I thought you were going to say 2 years old.
I may look it, but I'm not. I was probably about 2 years behind. I started kind of going out around 91, so like actual events. I was doing like weird little kind of illegal things. But I was just a raver. I went there, did what I did, danced all night, loved it. That was it. Listened to Pirates.
That's how most people got into it. I did the same thing, but I just did it a few years before. I went there, just got into it, and how I kind of I remember I just wanted to. At first, I said to this guy, there was this rave at Slough Centre. It was so sick, right? And I remember going to, and the geezer that run it was a guy called Stuart, and he had this bowler hat. And he was just a character. Do you know what I mean? And you used to see him walking up and down. Because, you know, back in the day, like when I remember there'd be people walking along the line and they'd go, not tonight, mate. And if you didn't look right, you were out. And when they walk along the line, you'd be like, standing up straight, just, you know, I'm like, just make sure that, because you get picked and said, get out of the queue, that's like your night's done. And you didn't want your night done, because all your mates would be like, I'm not with him. You know, yeah, there were none of this like unity. Yeah, we'll leave with you. But like, we'll see you later. But anyway, so this geezer Stuart used to walk up and down, and he was like, he was this big character, and me being me, I just was like, all right, Stu. Like, I didn't even know who he bloody was, but I knew his name, and I was like, all right, Stu. And he's like, all right, and I was like, so. At the end of the rave, I see him and I go to him, listen, mate, I'm going to Land of Oz, which was at Heaven on a Monday, and I'm going to Rage, which was also at Heaven on a Thursday. I said, look, do you want me to take some flyers for you? I'll hand them out. And he was like, yeah, cool. So he gave me flyers, save him doing it. I was going there anyway. And all I was thinking in my head is, if I can just get a queue jump. It wasn't even like I wanted paying. I just didn't want a queue. So what happened is by doing that, and when Stuart used to see me, he'd be like, Steve, come along. And who are you with? And I'd be like, I'm with these lot. And then we'd come out of the queue and walk straight to the front. We felt like proper VIPs. We felt so special. Still paid our money to get in. Weren't getting in for free. Yeah. Still paid our 20 quid to get in. And it's funny because you see how things kind of melt into one. Now, what happened is I was standing outside Land of Oz handing out them flyers. And Jarvis, who owns Biology, said to me, have you got any VIPs for that? And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know what he meant. I was like, what the bloody hell is VIPs? What was VIPs? I didn't know. So for those that don't know, it's very important. People basically passes to get in free. So me being me, I went, nah, but you got any VIPs for that? And he went, yeah, come down to Vinyl Zone on Kings Road tomorrow. It was a Tuesday, like Monday night. Come and see me tomorrow at Vinyl Zone in Kings Road.
Which is where you were hanging around anyway.
Which is where I went to get my music anyway. So I was like, all right, cool. So I turned up and he was there, and Jarvis, just bigger than life character again, and he was there and he's bowling around, he's walking. And I was like, all right, Jarvis, I'll see you last night. And he's like, yeah, here, get me a passport photo. And I said to him, oh, okay, cool. And he went, I said, he didn't ask me to do anything. I said, look, do you want me? I'm going to Rage on Thursday. Do you want me to hand out some flyers for you? And he was like, all right, cool. So he gave me a bloody stack of. I think the flyer was for a thing he was doing at Battersea. I think it might have been called Weekend World. I know it had the Biology Man on there.
Okay, yeah.
It was like one of their first events anyway. Anyway, I took the flyers, and so I'm now here with Slouse flyers and Biology's flyers. I don't know how that was going to work. I've only got two hands. Anyway, Jarvis, I gave him a passport photo and he went, come back in a couple of days. I went back in a couple of days. I had my own Biology VIP pass with my photo on it. And, man, it was like, I just arrived. I was actually thinking that as I was saying it. I'm maybe somewhere, I don't know. It's probably in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
I hope I have. That would be brilliant. But what it was, again, I didn't do it for money. I just did it because, well, now I'm going to get in for free. This is amazing. This is like a step up from just jumping a queue. Now I'm going to get in for free. And it was all done through just being just having a little bit of character, what it is. He asked me what VIPs were. I didn't know what he was talking about. I asked him, well, have you got any? Yeah. Have you got any? And he went, yeah, come and see me. And then I found out what VIPs were. And I felt lovely.
You couldn't Google it, could you?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. So, so what it is again, it's just about taking opportunities that kind of come. So what happened was from doing the Slough Centre flyers and the Biology flyers, I got to meet the guys that do Fantasy, the Rave Phantasy. And I progressed to selling tickets. So on flyers for raves, there was Steve from Ealing. That was me.
No way.
Yeah. So what it is Steve from Ealing. So what happened is when I think about it now, I didn't really think about it then. I was just doing it not to earn money, to get in for free. Yeah. That was all it was about.
It's all about the pie.
I want to go for free. But then I kind of was like, hold on a minute, I've just sold 300 tickets for that rave, and I've took my £2 booking fee. I've just earned 600 quid or whatever, you know. And then what it is, my mum used to run it for me while I weren't there. Right. So I used to give her some of it.
Because it would have been a home number, right?
Yeah,
it would have been a landline.
People were turning up at my house, that's how I met Gemini. Gemini's girlfriend at the time, Angela, called up and then basically turned up at my house with him. And he went to my school, and I remember he was a right arsehole at school. He was one of them guys. When he got on the bus, you're like, oh, no. God, is that idiot? Sorry, Si, but you were. And the thing is, so what happened was, Can I just say, you know his story? Did you read what he said about me in the book about the Groove Rider thing?
So I remember he mentioned about the Ribena quite a
Oh
lot.
yeah, because I used to have this Ribena and Smarties
yes,
thing.
the Groove Rider.
Right,
He
so
thought,
let me just clarify this. Anyone who's read the book, Gemini, in Gemini's head, and he smoked a lot back then. He still does. But I told him when I was meeting him, trying to impress him, that I knew Groove Rider.
Yeah.
What he heard was, I am Groove Rider. So he started going around telling everyone, yeah, man, I'm going out with Groove Rider this weekend. Right? Not even know what Groove Rider looked like. And like, trust me, if you know me and Groove don't look like each other, like, you know what I mean? But the thing is to this day, he swears by, and I'm like, bruv, I never said that because I'm not an idiot. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to say I am someone I'm not. But anyway.
There was only so long that lie would have held up
exactly,
for, right?
Exactly. But it's in the book, so you'd have to read it. So I'm not going to give too much away, but it is quite funny. And so basically, we used to sell tickets. So then I started doing, I somehow got introduced to Dave Lambert, who ran Fantasy. Yeah. And I said to him, look, do you want me to sell tickets and that? And then he said to me, look, could you run a meeting point at Box Hill? Right. So, and then what was another thing, which was like, honestly, it was so amazing. And this kind of relates to my football days when I used to go with Chelsea's firm and that. Yeah. Because I knew the old a lot as a younger, I got to know where the meets were and everything beforehand. So I felt a bit special that I knew what was going down. And what it is, during the game, all the kids would be coming up going, where's the meet? Where's the meet? You'd be like, yeah, it's the Rose, or it's wherever it's going to be. And then what it is this kind of vibe that I felt at football was now relating to the rave scene, because I knew where the rave was before you did. And like, so what it is, I'd be having people like calling me, because back then I did have a mobile phone. Like it was a brick, but
they were literally with a handset attached to like a massive brick
mine was at NEC 9A. I got it off of, Phil Higgins that runs Desire.
Oh, okay. I don't know him, but
Right, so he'd be an interesting person to interview, because he's got some stories, trust me. But me and him become really close because he worked with Labyrinth. With him and Joe ran Labyrinth together at the start, and then he broke off and done Desire. And me and him were really tight. And I remember he had this mobile phone, and I was like, oh, I'd love one of them. And he went, oh, have it. And I went, what? And he went, yeah, just get a new number. And I went, are you serious? He gave me a bloody mobile phone. I couldn't believe it. I was like 18 years old, like, 18, 19 or whatever, with a mobile phone. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, I remember standing there on the street, like Northfields Avenue, with this phone, and everyone on the bus looking at me. I'm literally, the whole top deck was looking at me, and I was going, yeah, like that Dom Jolly. I was like proper like, hello, Mum. Do you know what I used to do? This is so funny, right? It's so sad, really, but it's funny. I used to phone my mum when I was on the road to let her know I'll be home in a minute. And it would cost me 50 pence just to go, I'll be home in a minute. She'd go, all right, cool. And put the phone down, and like, then I just, next thing the key would go, and it'll be me, all right, Mum. But the thing is sorry, so going to the fantasy thing, they asked me to do the meeting point at Box Hill. Yeah. So I did it. And again, I discussed this in the book. What happened was, my young business mind, I kind of didn't think, I just did it. I didn't think. So what happened is that I'm walking around and people are coming up and buying tickets off me. Then I started noticing that people weren't buying tickets off of me, and I had a stack of tickets like this I had to sell. So I had 2 security guards with Rottweilers, and I had my mate Wurzel with me. So I basically said, I called them together and I went, right, look, people are not buying tickets. They've told me to sell tickets. I've got to sell these tickets. So I basically went, what we're going to do is you get in the car and leave him with the dogs, and me and Wurzel will sell the ticket. So what I did is, we basically got the car to go out slowly out of the car park. And as every car come, we checked every car for tickets. I sold every single ticket, mate. And like, do you know, the maddest thing is, like, my pockets were stuffed with cash, like ridiculous. So when we was driving, after we sold all the tickets, I mean, people were peed off, like that they were having to buy tickets when they thought we don't need to buy them. And I was like, this convoy is not leaving until I see, how many is it? 5 in the car, 5 tickets. Yeah, cool, you can go. And I was proper like that. Anyway, so what happened was we had the convoy going. The convoy broke. I told the driver, go back round. We can't lose anyone. Didn't want anyone to be lost because no one knew where it was. I did. No one knew where the rave was. I wanted to make sure everyone got there. So what happened is, we eventually got there. When we got there, the old bill blocked the road off.
Right.
So without even thinking, without even consulting the security, I just jumped out of the car and I went, right, pull over. And I was walking up the line. I'll never forget. It's like I'm there right now. And I was going, pull over. And I was making everyone pull over on the side of this country lane. Park your cars. It's through there. You could see the rave happening. So I made everyone run through the hedges. I was like, get through the hedge. Like the old bill have blocked it. We're going to party. We're definitely partying tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I'm running across this field, I've realised, hold on a minute, I've got all this money in my pocket, and I'm thinking to myself, one of these could easily just basically give me a slap and just take it off me. I was on my own. The security were gone. I don't know what they were doing. They probably went to help their mates. Wurzel, I'd lost Wurzel. I don't know where he was. So I'm running for it. It was so funny. All of us, all the ravers, I'm right, run, come on. It's this way. So we're running through this field. Anyway, I see the porter cabin where the promoters were. So I walked in, I knocked on the door, and they've opened the door, and they were like, oh, Steve, not now. And I was like, mate, you need to take this money off me. And they're like, no, look, see us Monday. And I'm like, mate, I am not and I just basically went like that, and I just whacked about 10 grand or something it was
pound
definitely
notes.
It was in fivers. There was pound notes back then. I probably wouldn't have taken pound notes. It's too thick. No, but anyway, like the thing is there was definitely no coins, so there was that one thing.
Yeah.
But I just stacked all this money on the table, and I remember they both went, wow, where'd you get this from? And I went, man, I sold all those tickets. And they were just like, whew. So I remember, I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about it. They counted out £1,000. Now, don't forget, £1,000 in like 89 is a lot of money, man. You know what I mean? It's a lot of money now.
Yeah.
But back then, it was ridiculous amount of money. So they went to me, here's some money, here's £1,000. Because as I say, I promise you, the money was stacked like that. And I went, I don't want your money. Like, what an idiot. But I said, I don't want your money. I want to play. And they went, take the money, you're playing. And I was like, sweet. So
Double win.
Yeah, so I took the money. And then I remember I had to wait all night for this thing. But so I got, from that event, they weren't allowed to run events no more. So I went to see them on the Wednesday after. And I said, look, because Fantasy means so much to me because of the event, do you mind if I use the name as a DJ name? And they said, as long as you put DJ in front of it. That's why I'm glad you got it right.
There you go, see.
I'm very, ever since then, it's always been like DJ Fantasy. And so the reason I started this long-ass story was because I knew that on September the 30th, 1989, 30 years would be September the 30th, 2019. So I knew I needed to write a book and release it on that day, the 30th anniversary.
Wow, so
that come out on the 30th of September 2019, 30 years to the day I got my name, Fantasy.
That is mental.
And we'll just cut for an ad break there.
Mate, that's awesome. So let's talk about how you started getting into DJing, because that's a really interesting story. Again, just kind of revisiting the mixes that I've got of yours, and also kind of getting new ones as well. Some DJs were all right, some were phenomenal. You definitely had a style. You were really kind of mixing stuff up. What was your kind of approach to kind of getting? You getting two turntables. Obviously, number one, I need to learn how to beat match for number one.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think I kind of can get influenced by the people I'm around. So, like, obviously, Gemini was he was like a kind of a beat rider. So what he'd do is he would just he could mix for hours just continuously, and he just had this way of just putting the music together. And then with Carl Cox was very chop. Yeah. So what I tried to do is blend a bit of the both styles. So I always remember, I think it was SS said to me back in the day, he went, I think it was SS, but it was definitely at a rave in Birmingham and Leicester, I think it was Leicester. But what it is, the way I used to use the crossfader. So I don't know, I don't want to really move this. This won't affect the volume. Okay,
fine,
so let's say if a tune's going dunka, 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 and over the 8 beats, yeah, there you go, that's funny. Over the 8 beats, I would kind of mix the next tune in. So then you'd have the next tune playing, and then next thing you know, I'd swing it back to the other. And what it is, I always remember I was at where was it? Clapham Common. There used to be meetings at Clapham Common, and everyone would go there on the Sunday after the rave. Yeah. And then anyway, this guy Des set up some decks, and he had a DJ called Casper who was from the World's End Estate, and Casper was an amazing DJ. Trust me. I remember me and Gemini was there watching him one day, and he was playing this tune, and next thing next thing I just see him picking the tune that he was playing off the deck, and I'm like, I didn't even hear the bloody tune switch. And it was like that technical ability, like how that guy never become a big DJ, I don't know, because he was like flawless, you know what I mean? So I kind of like, with Gemini being like a really great mixer, and with Carl Cox with his energy and that, I try to combine the both of them. It's like, even now I work with Mackie G, who's like, you know, one of the most popular drum and bass DJs about now, and he's kind of influenced, like I'm sure I've influenced him, like, and he would admit that, and you know, he's influenced me. You get influenced by the people you work with. So the thing is back then I was very, you know, kind of influenced by Cox and obviously Gemini, and I try to kind of mix up the styles and everything like that. Do you know what I mean? So even a funny story talking about reincarnation, because I know somebody's left a question about that.
Do you know what?
I'll just tell you this quickly while you're getting that question up. DJ Hype, I got a funny story.
Yeah.
So I said to him, teach me how to scratch. So I went round his house, and I remember he pulled up 2 Run DMC. Not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. And I didn't realise, to me it was like 20 minutes. I was in there for like 3-4 hours just going bad meaning bad, bad meaning bad, good. And then what I did, I went out that night at Reincarnation and did it live at the rave, and he said to me afterwards, what are you doing? You can't just go and do that at a rave. We've only had 3 hours, 4 hours lesson. And I was like, why? I felt confident. I kind of messed it up a bit, but I got it. It was, I remember it was with a Pascal tune, and it was going, and I was like going, and I was trying to beat match it, and I messed it up a little bit, but it didn't matter because I was just on a vibe. But again, trying to run before I can walk, you know what I mean? But I remember Kevin Hype telling me, like, what the hell are you doing? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, that was that Reincarnation. I thought, man, I'm a scratch DJ now. I've learned it for 3 hours. So let me do it live in front of a packed audience, you know what I mean?
All right, so I've got a question from Stephen Harvey. He says, your set from the 16th of January 93, Reincarnation in Herne Bay, one of the best ever. Still listen to it now. Do you remember Reincarnation? You played there nearly every month. Yeah,
I mean, Reincarnation, like Mick was the guy who owned Reincarnation. He was just a massive supporter. Do you know what I mean? He's just a lovely guy, and he just kind of sort of made me a resident. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it wasn't. Do you know what? It's one of them raves. I didn't realise that how it influenced people as much until it stopped, and I find that's a lot. You know, in life. You know, for example, people I've worked with, when I stop working with them for whatever reason, like, or I decide, they might have done something. I don't think they realise what I do for them until I'm not doing it no more. And just flipping that from my way, I didn't realise how important Reincarnation was until there was no more Reincarnation. And then it was then when I went, oh my God, that was actually an amazing event. And I think what you do is you just get caught up in it all. You know what I mean? And I remember just talking about getting caught up in it. I think this is a good thing to say, especially for young people that are experienced. Even the older guys who've been around for a while, you get a chance. When we did the O2 Arena, a Red Bull Culture Clash, and I remember when we were standing there, I turned around to Mackie and I said, because don't forget, Mackie's younger than me, a lot younger than me, and I turned around and I went to him, right, just remember this. On this stage has been like Rihanna, Jay-Z, Beyonce, everybody, all these big super mega stars have been on this stage. We're on this stage now. Soak it in. Look at it. And as I'm telling you now, I can see the whole auditorium in front of me, because I remember I just went like this and I just stood there and I just looked around and I took the whole thing. I've been in the stalls like watching Lee Evans, a comedian. I've watched him there. I've watched so many things there. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like it was just I just needed to take that moment. And I think what I've been doing over the last few years is I always take a moment during a set to savor what's going on, because I remember when I do this thing with Harry Shotter called the Harry Shotter Show, and I remember when we did the main stage at Westfest first time ever, and there's like 10,000 people there or something, and I remember saying to Shotter and there was another guy in the group at that time, Fates, he's no longer with us, is someone else, Phantom is in there now. I remember saying, enjoy this.
Yeah.
This might be the last time we're ever on this stage.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
you can't just think, oh, I'm going to be back here next year, because you never know, innit?
Yeah.
So, you know, again, as I'm saying it to you now, I remember I had my arms around him and I was looking out into his ear, and I was into the crowd, and I was like, soak it up.
Yeah.
Remember.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we have to remember, like, you know, everything we do are moments in time. This interview is a moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think it's about like having like these amazing moments and sharing them with the people that are there. Like, we're sharing this with the people that are locked in now,
Yeah.
and with the people that might watch it or listen to it later on. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
about sharing these moments, and it just goes back to my kind of thing about, you know, why did we get into this? What drew us into it? It was the love, the excitement. This is like amazing. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I found this, and the love for it and the enjoyment.
Yeah.
As soon as that goes, you know.
Well, this is the thing, is it's not even necessarily about taking it for granted. It's about just acknowledging what is happening. You know, it's that kind of mindful meditation approach about being in the moment,
Yeah.
and living that moment.
Another thing as well, I think is really important right now, with is like, you know, like the mental health thing, like, because what it is like you know, you die. It's actually a really, really serious thing, and I think
100%.
sometimes people kind of overlook it because it isn't happening to them. But, you know, the thing is like, when you see, and this isn't just for music, this is just like life in general, but when you see people, like people sort of looking at other people, and they what it is then that envy kind of comes into play. What it is that's going to mess with your mind. Not, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what you got to do is, like, you know, just like think about where you are right now, and, you know, like, you think about your family, and, you know, and like, be lucky, because, you know, I've been to places like the Gambia, and like they don't even, well, when I went, there wasn't even sugar. I wanted sugar in my tea, there wasn't even sugar, and it was like, it was a real rude, like, it won't, you know. And I just thought to myself, I wish everybody could just come here for like a week to realise how, even if we're on our arse at home, how lucky we really are, because we've got a roof over our head, we've got electricity, you've probably got a phone, you've got access to. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Just a little
Yeah,
basic thing. If you want a cup of tea, you've got sugar, and little things that
Or
we
just
take
clean
for
water that comes out of a tap.
There you go. I mean, you're going to real basics there. But this is what I'm saying, the real basics. And I think, you know, what it is I spoke to an artist recently. I hadn't spoken to him for quite a while. And he basically told me that he quit. And I was like, oh my God, did you? I didn't even know he quit. And I felt well bad that I never knew he quit. And he just said, yeah, I just got really depressed. And like, he just basically kind of opened up about, you know, he went down on a big spiral. And what it is I kind of, so when I think about it, I never kind of didn't want to pry too much, because it was him telling me. I didn't want to go, oh yeah, what was this? You know, he wanted to sort of release something, and I was there to listen to it, because that's what, sometimes people just need someone to listen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing is it kind of, you know, there's a lot of things that are going on, and, you know, that's what I'm saying. This is what my thing about moments in time. They're just moments in time, and I don't take drugs, right? I have taken drugs, but I don't take drugs, because my high is, you know, like seeing people enjoying themselves when I go out to perform, or, you know, like even someone just tweeting me about my record. Even like when I went to Clashmouth, that geezer, it wasn't one geezer, but there's one geezer in particular, I can't remember his name. He was saying to me, yeah man, this tune that you made, and he's going, you know, the way that you went, and I was just like, mate, I don't know, but he was so like ingrained into like the track. He knew the track better than I knew it, and that was my drug.
Was it maybe Fantasy's mate that did it instead?
No. Do you know what? We'll get onto that. But the thing is that was the pressing. The distributors done that. They're a bit cheeky. But the thing is he basically what he done was that guy sort of giving me that feedback. Made me kind of realise that I do need to re-release some of the old stuff.
Yeah.
Because I thought to myself, wow, this guy, like, I can't, you know, I'm so bad. I can't remember his name because I did meet so many people that day. But that guy actually, this is what I'm saying. That guy saying that to me actually changed my whole thought process on
Just one comment.
one comment, man, and his dedication to not just my tune but the music, like. And he was like, I remember, and he was talking about, like, he was asking me, so what was Ratty like? And I was like, Ratty's a top boy, mate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I actually thought to myself, I need to let Ratty know about this because David's still about. He's still floating about. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that Clash Mouth thing could become.
I loved it down. It was the first time I ever went down.
That was
there
my
this
first
year,
time as well. I was
and
actually really pleasantly surprised.
It was just like a massive record shop.
And it was just a big. It was like going to Black Market on a Saturday, just meeting everyone down there. Wasn't it? It was like it was really good. Do you know what I mean? But I think just while we're talking about the mental health thing, I don't want to just kind of end it there. I just think, listen, to anyone listening, like, you know, don't, if you ever feel that you're, you know, you're in a dark place, just talk to someone. Just get it off, because like what it is like, it's a good thing to just get it off your chest. It might not solve all the problems, but you know, airing them will probably help.
It's a good start.
And don't be afraid. Like, no one's going to be judging anyone or anything like that, you know. And I think with what's happened with Caroline Flack this weekend, and
I mean, there's, you know, especially music with, you know, people like Avicii and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of sad stories of people that have just been under, you know, too much pressure for them, whether it's been drug or booze related. You know, there is the whole kind of bravado thing with in a still very male dominated industry. You know, I feel really low and shit, but I can't say anything because people just think I'm X, Y, Z.
Exactly. No one judges, because you know what, everyone's got their own battles going on. Do you know what I mean? You know, some people choose to be vocal about it. Some people don't. You know, if you look at my social medias, like, you'd think that, you know, I wake up in the morning, everything goes la 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 la. No, real life doesn't happen like that. But I choose not to put, you know, like, if I walk down the stairs and smash my toe on the floor and, like, you know, break my toe, I'm not going to go, oh, bloody break my toe. Why? Because you know what happens, right? And I try to not read too much social media at the moment, because I remember this one artist, I remember he had 4 gigs this weekend, because I know I played before him or after him at 3 of them, right? So he had 2 Friday, 2 Saturday. And on Sunday, I see him moaning. And I was just like, I think I might have even texted him, bro, what are you moaning about? You just played to, like, about 5,000-6,000 people over the weekend. Do you know how many people would, like, give their right arm to do that? You know, but you just be happy in it. Like, just don't get too bogged down with things that ain't real. Do you know what I mean? You know, things that you're worrying about, but they don't happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. You know, 2 months later, I always remember someone saying to me, will it matter in 5 years' time? And I was like, wow, no, it won't. It won't, will it? Do you know what I'm saying? If it won't matter in 5 years' time, don't worry about it. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's switch it to a more pleasant.
Well, now we're talking about memory. So there's one I want to put up. This one is from Steve Morgan. So he says, you're set at Fantasia Summertime when your needle skips in Sub Love, and then more. What was going through your minds?
Well, I don't want to. I've done well to get through 58 minutes without swearing, but Robbie D getting really excited on the stage and jumping up and down, and also as well, I remember that stage was a bit mad because you had to get a ladder to get up to it,
right?
And
with a box of records.
Yeah, it was a bit weird, but when I think about it now, it was a bit mad. But I remember you had to. So what it is if someone whacked the ladder up, you know. It wasn't very stable. I mean, nothing was back then. It was just like thrown together. Do you know what I mean? But Robbie D was jumping on the stage, and I mean that event. If someone asked me what's your favourite all-time event, that's the first event that comes to my head. Is Bournemouth, Matcham's Park, Fantasia, and it's funny because every time I drive past it going to the O2 in Bournemouth, I think of it because the sign's up there. So I think of that event. And that was an amazing time. But more recently, like there's another event that's just kind of like crept onto there. I mean, there's Rampage, which is like an amazing event.
Belgium, right?
Belgium, it's, I mean, it's just amazing. But
production on that just looks
it's
like
mental,
bruv.
bruv. I always remember Mackie going to me when we did interviews. It's funny talking about Fantasia.
Yeah.
When we did interviews, the interviewers would go, "So, what's your favourite rave you ever played at?" And I'd go, "Oh, well, there's this rave called Fantasia. It was, back in 1992 in Matcham's Park in Bournemouth. It was amazing." And then Mackie would go, "Rampage," and then I remember going to him one day. Why do you always say Rampage? And he went, "You'll see one day." And then if you look at the video of the 2017 set we done, you actually see me looking at Mackie in like literally we're just plugging the headphones in and I look at him and I go, that's at the moment. That was the moment that I said I was letting him know because he always stands on my right. It's like Ant and Dec. I let him know that. Oh, I know what you mean now.
Yeah.
I hadn't even played a record. We hadn't played anything. And I was just setting up and I just look at him and I go, like, because it was like, okay, cool. And it was just like, because again, it's so weird. I never done no studying of it. I just kind of walked up onto the stage and next thing you just walk up and there's just a sea of people and you're just like, huh? Like, where's this come from? You know what I mean? It was just mad, but that was amazing. But sorry, just to quickly, Reading Festival. We did Reading and Leeds last year. Leeds was amazing as well, but Reading, for me, that now goes into my top events because I think for me, apart from it, just we was on the radio one stage and it was like a concert. It was just there was people there from 16 years old up to whatever age, and for me personally, like my wife was there, my children were there, our manager Michael was there, and like everything, it just, everything, I done that where I just looked around, I was standing like on the stage and I just looked around at a sea of people, absolutely going mad. I looked around to the right, I see my missus and the kids, I see Michael and everything, and just, it was just that, I just stood there and went, wow. This is amazing.
Do you know what? 3 decades in, it must be impressive to be impressed on that scale.
Yeah, I mean,
because you've seen a lot of stuff. You travel around the world.
Yeah, of course. But you know what? I'm so thankful. I'm thankful that I'm able to do that. I mean, I literally the only place I haven't been in the world I want to go to is Japan.
Right.
It was up until like last year, maybe the year before. It was New Zealand and Japan. Now, I've done New Zealand now. I've done it 3 or 4 times or something now, and New Zealand's amazing. Oh, you lived there, didn't you?
I lived there my parents still live there. They emigrated there in end of '92. So my sister and now her family is there, and my mum and dad have been there since '92.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's an amazing place.
I love
isn't
it.
Oh, mate, it's so chill. I was on a plane. When I was doing that tour on my own, I was on a plane. I was just sitting there, and this geezer next to me, he was a massive, like Maui guy. Yeah. Next thing he went, "Hey mate, what are you doing over here?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a DJ. I'm on tour." Mate, he was like, it was so funny because you know that one where they go, "Oh, so my mate's a DJ. Do you know John?" I go, no, but yeah, you know what I mean. But so basically, but this geezer, I was just chatting to him. He was telling me about the country. He was like going, "Oh, you've got to go here. You've got to go there." And I was just like, "Mate, this place is amazing, isn't it?" And he's like, I go, "So where'd you go? Where are you going now?" He goes, "I'm going on holiday." And I went, "But don't you live here?" And he went, "Yeah." And I went, "So you live here and you're going on holiday here?" And he went, "There's no reason to ever leave." And I was just like, wow. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to get my missus to go over there, but she don't really like flying. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
so
it's a long flight. But Rhythm and Vines Festival is
mate,
like...
Bruv, we did that on New Year's Eve. Listen, I got a funny story about that. So we arrived at Rhythm and Vines and they said, "Oh, do you want to come and see the midnight countdown?" So I was like, all right, cool. So like me and the boys, we went in the pit, the pit between the stage and the thing. So I'm looking, I turn around, I'm getting goosebumps now. I turn around and I just remember seeing this sea of people and it's like an auditorium. It goes up really high. And I was like, wow. I goes, "Oh, what arena are we playing in?" They went, "You're playing in here." And I went, "Are we?" Oh my God. I was just like...
Rampage moment.
Yeah, it was like, but this is bigger. This is 25,000 people. Like,
do you know what I think it was? Because I remember seeing U2 in New Zealand when Paul Oakenfold...
Did you see me too?
Me too.
Oh, right.
When Paul Oakenfold used to support them, the Zoo tour, I think it was,
Yeah.
and it was in a space like that
Yeah.
then kind of went up
Yeah,
at the
it's
back.
probably the same location, but
Yeah.
what it is in New Zealand, drum and bass is like basically pop music now.
Yeah.
I mean, Mackie is literally a pop star over there. Do you know what I mean? He's selling out tours over there, like I don't know, like how Jay-Z would probably sell out tours
Yeah.
in America or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've not followed Jay-Z like that, but he's absolutely a pop star over there. Do you know what I mean? And the scene over there is vibing.
Yeah.
It's just so far away.
And it's so good to see because, back in the day, New Zealand was almost a bit like, right, I'm doing a tour of Australia. I may as well pop to New Zealand while I'm here.
Yeah.
And now, like, the festivals have grown and grown and grown. And there's such a...
It's just mad. We were there just at New Year's, and like someone come up to we were they come into our our backstage area, and they went you've got more people on your stage than the main stage. So there was two main stages,
Right.
but there was the main stage and then the other main stage. But we were in the other main stage, which was drum and bass. The main stage was like live acts, like big bands and that. And they're like, listen, there's more people here. Do you know what I mean? And I was just like, wow. And then I've spoken to like various people who've kind of, just sort of like let me know about how, it's actually daytime music over there now, like drum and bass. So which is a great thing, man. To think about it, this whole thing was started like here in the UK. Probably coming out of Ron's bedroom. Do you know what I'm saying? Where it, the origins of it.
Yeah.
And it's gone on to 30 years later, and it's grown to what it's grown to. Do you know what I mean?
So wait to see what it's like in the next 30 years, eh?
Yeah, man, yeah.
6 generations deep. All right, this question's from Dan at Glastonbury. He said, I'd like to share a memory of one of Fantasy's sets. I got a copy of a set from a school friend back in 92. We didn't get many bootleg tapes out here in Australia, and listened to this mix with Carl on the flip on repeat for years. The music still means so much to me, even after 28 years. He's actually ripped it and uploaded it and said thanks to the internet he's found all of the sets from it, and says it was from, he later found out it was from an event called Boom 92 in Great Yarmouth. Do you remember that event?
Oh my God. There was a lot of things going on in Yarmouth. Was that me and Coxie?
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah, I know. Someone actually messaged me recently about that. That's quite weird. There's a Instagram page that tagged me in that flyer, but it was it was on the actual seafront. I think it was
right.
Because at that time Carl Cox was managing me, and Maxine, who was Carl's partner at the time, both personally and businessy, so they were both partners. So I remember that would have been, because would Stuction have been on that lineup as well?
I mean, it's definitely that era for sure.
Yeah. So John might have been on there as well. So of course, I mean, I don't remember the specifics about it, but I remember the event. Thing is, I've never been really one of these people to kind of go out and get caned and get on it. If I ever did anything like it, would be like sort of away from the. Back in the day, it'd be away like afterwards. Do you know what I mean? And but I've never been one to sort of be in an event like getting wasted.
How many of the flyers do you have from the events that you played at?
I've definitely got as many as I possibly can from the sort of the 2000s. What happened is I did collect everything, and then my mum's garage got a leak in the roof, and a load of my bin liners that I put everything in bin liners all got ruined, and when you opened it, all the flyers were all stuck together and they were ruined. So but funny you say that. Someone actually messaged me the other day and said to me, I think it might have been Jack Smooth when we were chatting the other day. He said about flyers, like have you got any old flyers? And no, it wasn't actually. It was another guy. Sorry, it wasn't Jack. It was another guy I was talking to, Phil. He basically said that he found loads of old flyers and put them on eBay. Yeah. And I was like, I've got loads of old flyers. And he's like, just whack them up on eBay for like £1 and just see, bidding and see what happens. And I thought, yeah, it's just finding the time to do it.
Yeah.
Though, do you know what
Some
I
of
mean?
them are going for crazy money,
That's
especially
what he
ones.
was saying. He said he sold a flight for 30 quid. I was
Yeah.
like, what?
If you had the ticket stub with it as well,
Oh,
so you know you
wow.
get the ticket,
Yeah.
they take the main bit or whatever bit.
Do you
you're
know, I
on.
know a really good printer, you know.
Yeah, I did think about that. I've got a mate of mine who's obsessive. He's like, they're all in like they've all got their own page in there. They're all kind of like
Amazing.
as crisp
See,
as possible.
that is history. That
Yeah,
should
yeah.
be documented. Why is that you know about it? The guy or girl who's done that.
Yeah.
The world needs to know about
Yeah.
that. Do you know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. I just think people need to document. I tell you what, have you seen that video footage? Really clear one of that rave in 1990.
No.
Mate, there's an 89. I've actually put it on my Facebook page.
I'll check it out.
Someone sent me a link and they went, "Is this you?" And oh my god, bruv, it's me, like 18, 19 years old.
No way.
Do you know what? It's in HD. I don't know how they done it because it is crystal clear. And I showed my kids the other day. I went, "Look at this. This is me when I was like 18,
Wow.
19.
I mean, that must have been recorded on like Betamax or something like that, like a high quality, because that don't sound like it was VHS.
No,
sure.
but the thing is, someone actually said to me, "Do you think that someone from the future went back and filmed it?" And I was like, "Wow, man, you seriously? That's
took an iPhone 32
what are you
back.
smoking, man." You know what I mean? But the thing is it is a bit weird that all the other rave footage is pretty rubbish quality.
Yeah.
It's amazing footage, but the quality is rubbish.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
even I just released a music video the other day, and we actually put an old VHS sort of
filter on
over
it.
Yeah, so you know, here's us trying to sort of like throw it back a little piece, and then you've got this actual real original footage, which is like brand new. Some page online put it up on Facebook, and I actually reshared it. Do you know what I mean?
Nice. So this is an interesting one. I'm going to jog your memory, hopefully, with this one. So this is a guy called Scott B. McQueen. He said, "Ask Steve if he remembers picking some of us up from a pub in Chelsea, jumping into the back of his flatbed pickup, covered in tarpaulin, and then getting pulled over by the old Bill, who subsequently pulled the tarpaulin back to hear the words, 'Hello, hello, hello.'" What we got here then? 5 of us had to get out. They were en route to Dalston in Labyrinth. And he said, luckily for us, Steve double backed and picked us up.
Well,
what a nice guy.
Yeah, right. So luckily my dad's not listening, but no, I've told him about this anyway. But I used to say to my dad, because I never had a car then, right? I used to say to my dad's obviously in the building game.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, "Dad, can I borrow your van?" Like, and he'd be like, "Where you going?" I was like, "I was just going to go down and see Eamon or whatever." He didn't know that I'd be driving to raves in this tipper, in this actual pickup truck, turning up like, it was just madness. And we did silly things like put people in the back.
As long as they bought a ticket, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I weren't selling tickets. This is before the ticket days. This is when we were actually like probably out like raving and that. But the thing is we used to do mad things. I remember talking about the pickups. My mate Dave Alloway, he used to have. He had a second-hand junk shop.
Yeah.
He had a second-hand junk shop, and what it was is he had like a big Luton van.
Right.
So what he did is like he on Saturday night he would. In his, it was on Harrow Road, right?
Yeah.
He would basically take us 2 sofas out and put them in the back of this Luton, and then what we'd do is there'd be like usually like Dave would drive there, and then I would drive back because everyone was too wrecked to drive.
Yeah,
but I don't do it. I shouldn't have really been driving, to be honest, because I was partying too. But the thing is like I used to be able to hold it together more.
Yeah.
And what it is like the weirdest thing is I don't know what the hell we were doing. So we would go to the rave with about 8 to 10 of us in this Luton. So there'd be 3 in the front, and there'd be like 6, 7 in the back. So what happened is I remember like I'd shut the back of the Luton van, and they'd all be in there. And then when you got to where you put the shutters up, and this big flume of smoke would come out, and everyone would be in there, and they'll be like, "They're here." So you'd let them all out, but on the way home in the morning, that van would be standing room only on the way out. And I remember coming out of a rave once. I don't know what rave it was, but I remember thinking it's going to bloody tip, because I was turning this corner and the whole van was leaving. I was going, Dave, it's going to go. And he's like, slow down. I wasn't even going that fast, but where everybody was probably standing up in the back, as it turned, they all leaned, didn't they? Yeah. It was, what the hell are we doing? That's so dangerous. Like, it wouldn't pass the new health and safety checks that are on now. You know what I mean? But the thing is if someone was stuck, like they couldn't get home, we can't leave them in the middle of
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah.
Go on then, jump in, and they'd be like, oh, thanks. And then I'd just be like, right. I used to drop them. I'd just get to a place in London and like maybe King's Cross or whatever, and just pull up. And you couldn't do that now. Just literally, like, just open it up.
It's
Be
like
like
refugees.
Yeah. Mate, like Rave.
Just saw 50 people coming out.
Yeah, they're all like mangled. You know what I mean? But honestly, it's funny. We used to go to the rave with like 8 to 10 people and come home with 30 or 40. You know, but you know, you can't leave it. You can't leave a fellow raver stuck.
I actually did the same. Me and my mate drove down to Fantasia, Little Cut House for 92, 93 New Year's Eve.
I did that New Year's Eve. Yeah,
it was big.
That was really
night.
muddy, wasn't it?
Yeah, we all for some reason thought it was all going to be in Little Cut House. I mean, in the right mind, of course, it was never going to be in there.
So my trainers were ruined that night.
But it was so wrecked. So we ended up we met a couple of guys that lived in Plumstead that used to go raving, and they had no way of getting back. So I was like, listen, it's just me and Paul. Look, just jump in with us. Yeah. But when you came out of there, it went uphill because there was all mud everywhere. I still wasn't quite right in the head, so I said, listen, I don't think I can make it up this hill with all four of you in the car. I told them to get out of the car. I waited till everyone had gone up, and then I just screamed up there in first gear, met them all at the top, and I said, listen, whatever you do, when I'm driving back, just don't fall asleep because I need your help. Yeah. Of course, they all fell asleep. The windows all fogged up. There was just a tiny little bit at the bottom of the window.
My God.
I spent the whole time driving down looking for this space because I'd only passed my test. I'd passed my test not that far off, and I hadn't even driven a car. Yeah. And I thought, well, look, I just can't see anything. Yeah. I literally just got home, and I accidentally hit the windscreen wiper. And everything's crystal clear. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Just burning down the M4 through this 2 centimetre gap in the window.
Oh, my God, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Some of the things that we were doing back then, you just wouldn't get away with now. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, so there was a lot of stories. Like I remember, it's weird because there was a time when I was trying to DJ or becoming a DJ, and I was still working. Yeah. And ironically, Labyrinth would be about 2-3 minutes away from the job that my dad's company were doing. So what I'd do is I'd finish Labyrinth, and then because they did some midweek things as well, and I'd finish at the 4 was it 4 races?
4 races,
it was 4 races, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then I'd literally go and I'd pull up about sort of 4 a.m. outside the job and sleep in the van, and then next thing you know, you get this knock about like half
that
7.
Sounded really authentic.
Yeah, about half 7. I'll be like, and it's like you know, Mick or my Uncle Alan or something going like, come on, get up, and what are you doing there? And I was like, I was DJing up the club. You know, I couldn't be bothered to drive all the way back home and then back over there in the morning. I wouldn't have made it. No. But the van. We did a few journeys in the van. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And my dad, I actually used 3 different vans that my dad, like when he got rid of one, I took the other. So
the more people you had to pick up, the bigger van
do you know what I mean? It had to be a bigger one. But yeah, it was part of the journey.
Indeed. So listen, quite a lot in the book you talk about. You know, from a particular musical style, you know, you didn't want to play, you know, you didn't want to be known as an anthem basher. Yeah. You were picking, you know, and actually you listen back to the tapes now and you can actually really hear that.
I think, do you know what? I think that's what stopped me. I think probably I was on that trajectory of going up, and what I did is my stubbornness probably stopped me from like basically crossing over to that sort of next level, if you know what I mean, because like I wanted to keep it real and, you know, represent the underground. When, you know, I always remember I played at this club once, and this is when Jungle was popping off. Yeah. And General Levy's tune Wicked was I never ever played that song. I play it now because, but at the time I just wasn't a big fan of it. And I love Levy; he's a top boy. I get on so well with him, but I just didn't like the tune at the time. I know, don't get me wrong, I know everybody loved it, but I just didn't. And I remember I played this set, and it was going off, and I remember Dr. Escache come on after me, and he just played that first tune, and the place just erupted. And I actually felt, wow, like I've just wasted an hour of my life trying to educate people when
Yeah.
all they wanted to hear was that. And then what was the thing? When the penny dropped for me, and I discussed this in the book. Like I went out with Hype one night. I'm not going to go into detail because I want you to get the book and read it.
Yeah.
But I went out with Hype one night, and I was trying to tell Hype, like, you're DJ Hype. You shouldn't be. You're basically playing all the anthems. Like, you don't have to do that. And he was like arguing his point. I was arguing my point. It was getting a bit heated because like Kev's like one of my good friends. So I tell him what's what, and he will tell me what's what. I don't beat around the bush with him, and he certainly don't beat around the bush with me or anyone.
I was going to say I don't think he beats around the bush with anyone.
But we have a serious level of respect for each other. I love him like a brother, and you know I'm sure that he feels like the same about me. But the thing is we had my mates were professional footballers, Bruce Dyer and Sean Newton, and I had another one, Richard Rufus.
Which is, by the way, there's some great stories about that in the book as well. I'm not a football fan, but the way that it all came about and how you introduced to them was
it's like
was
quite
really
it's quite mad. But I remember Bruce Dyer turned around, was in the car that night, and he could see it was getting a bit heated, this conversation, and he went, "Yo, Fants," like, no, he called me Phantos, is what he goes, "Yo, Phantos, listen, you know I love you, man, and you're my brother and that, and you're a sick DJ, but when I go out, I want to hear them tunes what Hype's playing. I want to hear that big tune and da-da-da-da." And I went, hold on a minute. This is my mate. He's a professional footballer, right? What he's saying is coming from love. He don't need to be jealous of me or have any hatred to me. He's a professional footballer. He plays at Stamford Bridge. He plays at Old Trafford. He plays at all these amazing stadiums. And when he said to me, I want, you know, I'm when I go out at the weekend, I want to hear them tunes. It was like the penny dropped, and it just went. And from that day on, that's why when I do play, you know, I'm sure there's purists that are probably like, "Oh God, you're playing that." I will play that because what I did is I'm not, like, at the end of the day, it made me realise that I'm not there for me.
Yeah.
I'm there for the people
that
come out. They work hard all week. And even the stay-at-home mums and the stay-at-home dads, they go out at the weekend to basically just escape. Like, you know, just let loose. And they want to hear songs that they can sing along to, or
triggers emotions.
It does. And I was, to be honest, in my early years, I was a bit selfish in that, you know, I just felt it was my mission to educate people rather than entertain them, and I think that's the difference there.
But I think, I mean, there's two things. I think, you know, you said about the purists and stuff. I've always believed if you try and please everyone, you end up pleasing no one.
Of course.
And I think, you know, although you may not have felt at the time, like I know that there are people, myself included, that hunt down these types of mixes that didn't necessarily always play Awesome Free and Far Out and those other ones, and people that did dig a bit deeper. I'll be honest, someone like Bookham, I didn't really get him until about 10 years ago. Like at the time, he wasn't, you know, quite what I liked.
Yeah.
But I listened back to stuff, even stuff that he was playing the kind of sets in 92, but especially kind of 93, 94. You know, it was like it really stood out to what everyone else was playing, and I didn't appreciate it at the time.
Yeah.
And it's the same for yourself. Like, I think, you know, I listen, you know, because I've downloaded a few new ones. I'm like, wow, like I'm going on like Roll the Beats to try and find a track list for it and dig out the tracks.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, it's funny because what you say, it relates to something else. I remember Stevie Hyper D, God rest his soul. When he passed away, as another situation, you didn't realise how much of an importance he was until he was gone. And when he was gone, it was like a massive hole in that part of in the scene, right? But one thing that I noticed was that sorry, do you know, I've lost my train of thought because I'm just thinking about Stevie, so sorry. But the thing is you kind of this whole sort of again, I've just lost my train of thought. This whole kind of thing with you know, like kind of keeping it real and playing commercial. You know, I just think that we are there to entertain people, and you know, I think we have to we have to remember that because you know, at the end of the day, people just want to go out and have a good time. Do you know what I mean? And oh, tell you, sorry, that's what the Stevie Hyper D. Sorry, I was trying to buy time there. That's done quite well. Right. So what I did it. Stevie Hyper D passed away, and Benny V was doing his album.
Yeah.
Benny asked me, could I do a mix? So anyway, it was at that Ed Rush and Optical era. You know, when that music was popping, right? So what I did is I made this tune, and it was it's on his album, right? So when I did it. I sent it to people, and I was like, "What do you reckon? What do you reckon?" And everybody was like, "Mate, that's wicked. That's like real jungle or authentic vibes." And I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to hear, "Yeah, man, this is the coolest music right now," and it was the music for now. And I weren't able to do that sound that was in at that time.
Yeah.
But the weirdest thing is what Time done was 10 years later when people look back at something, and I've had people go to me, your track is the best track on that album. The weirdest thing is because like in people's heads, you know how like they won't remember that the time that album was produced by all of them artists, it was at that kind of Ed Rush and Optical era. I call it the Ed Rush and Optical era because they were
the pioneers.
They were the boys at the time, and they're still boys now. But you know what I mean. But the thing is like. In my head, I was trying to make the sound for now, but I didn't. I basically made a good jungle track.
Yeah.
But when people look back at it, because they don't have a time frame. So if you make something now, whatever the sound is now, people now might be like, oh, I don't know, it's not really hitting the mark. But then if you listen to it in 10 years' time, you can't remember what the sound was now. You just remember that. Oh yeah, that was an era. So for example, jungle was an era between a certain period. Let's say what was 93. I'd say 93 because to me jungle was way before it blew up. Jungle to me was jungle techno in 92. That's how I see it. And you know when people say hardcore, I'm just like, mate, to me hardcore was what Dougal and Mark Breeze and Darren Styles and that lot done. To me that's hardcore. Yeah. To you it might be different. You might look at DJs Unite but that's hardcore. I don't think of it as hardcore.
So this is interesting.
That's rave.
Yeah. Well,
to me that's rave because it was at the rave era. It wasn't in the hardcore era. It was in the rave era. Let me just correct history here.
Well, I actually did. I don't do many kind of like camera to camera kind of videos, and I did one because I was sitting in the car and I was just thinking, like in like my digital organisation, I tag all that kind of era as old school. But actually, old school could mean R&B or hip hop or
that's what
anything.
I'm saying. It's the
just
widest
old.
word in the world.
Yeah. And then I was like, back then, I called it hardcore. My mates called it hardcore. MCs called it hardcore. And then I'm talking like 92. And then, 91 to 93.
Yeah. See,
to me, Dougal and Brisk, that's happy hardcore.
Yeah, but
the 4/4 beat.
Yeah, but that to me, that's hardcore. It's not happy hardcore. I'll tell you what it is. I remember this guy hit me up and he went, "Yeah, man, like you know, you did hardcore." And I was like, "Well, you know, people called it hardcore." And he's like, "No." He was like, "No, you did hardcore." And he sent me an album that one of my tracks was on, like something hardcore.
This is hardcore.
Yeah, that's something like that. This is hardcore. But the thing is like you know, it's like people want to put things into brackets.
Yeah.
So for me, the eras are and. You know, I lived through them, so I would like to think that I kind of have a bit of a knowledge. Is Acid House? Was 88 to 89. Then sort of the house kind of come in, the sort of 89 to 90. And then sort of like then the Euro come. You know, with Joey Beltram and all that Euro sound. That was like kind of 91. And then that led into the Euro stroke rave. Because remember when we were making tunes, we weren't like. You know, I'm not technically brilliant. I'm better now than I was then, but I'm not technically. I can't sit there and go, you know, and start playing like things. I understand music and I understand like chord progressions and I understand that, but we were just there going, yeah, that sounds great. There you go, like just, you know, just sort of doing all this mad thing. Oh, that sounds great. Put it in.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? There wasn't like this whole big. Oh yeah, we got to just make. You know, the snare has to be in the F key and all that. Mate, we didn't even. That wasn't even a thing. It was just like, is this a vibe? Cool. So you had that from that year. Then the way I look at it is like you had that rave kind of era from sort of sort of 91 stroke 92 ish,
Yeah.
93 brinking.
Yeah.
But then there was like, where was jungle techno? I always remember some geezer coming up to me in Bristol one day and he went, "Yeah, you play that jungle techno thing, man, do you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I didn't really think about it,
Yeah.
but, you know, apparently I play jungle techno.
Jungle techno for me is probably one of the hardest ones to pigeonhole. I talked at length with Ron about this, and he said to me, jungle techno is a track that sounds like aliens made it, and I was like, you know, for me, jungle techno is Top Bus. You know,
Yeah,
they played. Fantasia 91 going into 92,
Yeah.
that for me was the pinnacle, or sorry, the start
Yeah.
of like
They were the first people to do
Yeah.
that. I mean, you know, they were pioneers of that sound. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I talk about it in the book. I remember going up to Jay one day and going, "What's that tune?" He would "This is jungle, man." And I was just like, "Wow, this is jungle." But that's what I'm saying. Like, so then you have that era of like after. So there's that time when jungle techno was there, but jungle techno was before jungle.
Yes.
So what happened was after rave, it kind of started splitting.
Yeah.
So what you do is this is where the hardcore comes into it.
Yeah.
So because I was playing on slamming vinyl that had hardcore and jungle techno in the same arena,
Yeah.
does that make me hardcore?
Yeah.
Well, not really, because
no.
Seduction would be playing what Seduction played,
Yeah.
and then we'd be playing what we played,
Yeah.
and then after me would be Psy, and then after them would be Groove Rider, and then after them, and this was before.
And that was the beauty about those nights. Like
Yeah,
if you look at 94, 93, 94, you know, I was going Sanctuary, playing Sanctuary. I was raving at Sanctuary loads, and that's what I loved about it.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have someone like Slipmat that might have ridden the two. You'd have someone like Groove Rider that was out and out jungle, early drum and bass stuff. Then you'd have Seduction that was, you know, more kind of piano led, like proper hardcore stuff.
But that's what I'm saying. It's just like you know, it's you know, it's what I'm saying. You know, there's so many ways different people can look at it. But for me, that's how the pattern went, and you know, and so like as I say, some people will call it hardcore, and some people won't. But just quickly going back to the Stevie Hyper D thing is. When the beautiful thing about music is like what I've actually found while I'm going through these DATs, I've actually found tunes I haven't released yet. Now, I didn't release them at the time for a reason, because maybe the sound had moved, because the sound moved really quick back then. It moves quick now, but it really did move quick back then.
And the tempo as well.
Yeah, the tempo. I remember me and Gemini when we first done 140 BPM with no breakdown on Hippodrome. So what it is XL actually called us and said, if you put a breakdown in that, we'll sign it. What an idiot. I turned around and went, nah, I'm not doing no breakdown, because I was on this Keep It Real. What I should have done is like, give them the breakdown, put a vocal in it going, oh yeah, and all that stuff. And the world might have been a different place, but would I have met my wife?
This world's your world, right?
Do you see what I'm saying? So you kind of think to yourself, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? You know what it is.
Do you know
what it is? We are where we are.
I don't know if it was Goldie that said this, but it was him that had put it up on socials, and I read it and I was like, that is so true. He said, I've learned so much from the mistakes I've made in my life. I'm going to make a few more. And I thought, that is going, her hair's gone up there. I just thought, and I say it to my son all the time. So listen, a mistake's only a problem if you don't learn from it.
Yeah, of course, totally. And that's definite. But, you know, it's you know, if you think about this music, like from where it started to how many different things like it's gone into, even like things like, you know, Tomorrowland, which is an amazing event. If you ever get a chance to go to Tomorrowland, we played there 2 years ago, and like I was a bit like, wow, I think it might be like 200,000 people there. It's ridiculous.
Another production level, like
mate, it was levels, like. And do you know what? I actually, after our set, me, Mackie, and the missus, like, we went raving. We just stood there all day raving. It was just, it was such an experience. But that music has been born out of what was done coming from Chicago to the UK, and it's all kind of come from that sort of that seed that was planted all them years ago. Do you know what I mean? And on Netflix, there's actually some really great documentaries. I don't know if you've managed to see them, about the music from back in the day, going back down to the Chicago house, and then obviously the Ibiza with Oki and all them lot. So, you know, I just love soaking up this kind of information. And again, I just think there needs to be more stuff like this for the rave era,
Yeah.
the hardcore era, whatever
yeah.
you want to call it, even the happy hardcore era, the jungle era. You know, there needs to be more acid house. There needs to be more documentation of this.
Yeah.
If you think about it, if you put on Heart 80s now, you'll hear like Back to Life.
Yeah.
You'll hear all these songs that have stood the test of time. You still listen to them now and you're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it never gets old.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? You could just listen to it. And that was made whenever, 1990?
Yeah.
You know, part of British music culture.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? And again, not documented enough, I think, and I just think that that's something that we need to do. I think that's like, don't forget, there's people that are probably like 17, 18, 19 thinking about getting into, they want to do something, just hit up someone.
Yeah.
The guy who done the SASS documentary, he basically hit up our management and was like, I want to do a documentary on you lot. And what he did is he said, I've got, my brother works for a company, I'll be able to get it on BBC. And I was just like, that was it. He sold it to me there.
Yeah.
But he didn't, and ended up having to. I'm in meetings with Netflix and Amazon trying to, like, on the phone trying to get sorted myself because we've got this documentary that's cost X amount of money and we're going to put on YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's very difficult. But just so you know, before anyone goes in mad, if you are looking for Netflix or Amazon, they pretty much want to do their own product. Just that's one thing I did learn.
Yeah.
You learn from your mistakes.
Right, I've got a couple of questions for you. So, John Driver says,
Ever tried a hippodrome?
Never tried.
Did you ever try the hippodrome?
Well, the funny thing is, that's a rap. Gemini found that rap, and it's from a British hip hop act. And do you know the maddest thing is? I played at Hippodrome.
Yeah.
London, played there a few times. Where I met Hype, where I met DJ
Orange,
Hype.
Orange.
Yeah.
I did.
I was playing. I think he come on after me or something. But anyway,
did it have that? I don't know if I still to this day imagined it, but it had like a big lighting rig that used to come down in the middle of the dance, like right above
I think
the
a
dance
lot
floor.
of clubs back then
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I think that was a standard thing there. But with the Hippodrome, I actually had the Hippodrome in Manchester call me.
Yeah.
And was like, "Oh, is your record about us?" And I was like, "No." I couldn't believe it. They actually called me. I was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, he's like, never tried a Hippodrome." And I was like, "No, you know what it is? I just stole a rap off this hip hop group. It just happened to be free, and I just used it." And they sampled rather than stole because we paid for it. But the thing is like, it was just, I couldn't believe. I've got a funny story as it goes about like what like lyrics in records. Yeah. There was I always remember where I was in Canada. I was doing some shows in Canada, and I remember this guy goes to me, "So you got a 44 mag?" And I went, "No," and he went, "Oh, but you don't have a 44 mag?" And I was like, "No," and he went, "Okay, have you fired a 44 mag?" And I went, "No," and he went, "Have you held a 44 mag?" And I went, "No," and he went, "Have you seen a 44 mag?" And I was like, "No, mate, it's just a vocal that I used," you know what I mean? And he was like, "Okay, we gotta go and we gotta get you to," and he basically said to me, "I've got to show you a 44 mag." So basically I went to this house and the geezer went up into his loft and he pulled down this guitar case. I'm not joking you. It was like, he opened it up, there was Uzis in there, 44. Do you know 44 mag is so heavy? I didn't realise it's actually a really heavy, like I was actually holding it going, bloody hell, this is well heavy. Thinking about my prints would be on that bloody he set me up, yeah. So anyway, he turned
Just
around.
hold it in your hands, just see what it feels like.
Yeah, just see what it feels like. So anyway, but the funny thing is like, I'll just tell you this quick thing. He had an Uzi in there, and obviously I was like, "Right, is that an Uzi?" And he's like, "Yeah." So I picked it up, and without joking, I went around the room, and everyone ducked. And he was like, "Man, that loaded," he's swearing, "That's loaded, man." Like, and I was like, "Oh, sorry." I had to get back to him. I was like, "Man, we better get out of it." He's like, "Come on, man, we'll go shooting." And I was like, "All right, cool." So he pulled this guitar case out, and he's gone to the boot of the car and opened the boot and put the bag in this guitar case, and he's gone. And I'm like, what you doing? He's like, "Well, we're going shooting." I went, "I ain't getting in the car with you. I need to get home, mate." I just imagine getting nicked anyway.
Yeah.
But what the funny thing was, and it made me realise how important, like how people perceive music. And this was like back in the day. I just used that vocal because it was a wicked vocal and it was clean and I could use it.
Yeah.
But this guy actually thought I was sending a message out, but I wasn't. It was just a sample. And it was at that time, that's when I thought to myself, well, I have to be careful what we, you know, it's funny, you know, you learn, don't you, as you go along. And even though I just thought to myself, I need to be more careful about the stuff I sample.
And it makes sense.
Because of the message that it sends out, do you know what I mean?
Because I suppose, you know, music will always be interpreted by each individual in their own way, and they'll pick their own message or whatever out of it.
Exactly. That's why with the album I've got coming up, there's some amazing messages in there.
They're all subliminal. You got to play it backwards.
No, it's pretty blatant. Like, amazing. No, but no, it is. Yeah, you just got to try and get positive messages out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Because music is about emotion. You know, going back to how people feel about the music that was made back in the day. It's an emotion. It's an amazing time in their lives.
Yeah,
and you know, and. It's like it's amazing to have been a part of that whole journey. Do you understand? I mean, I look at it as I've had a small part in it because you know there's like thousands of people that have all contributed to this. I'm just one small element of it, and you know, and just to be able to do it, and you know, like as I say, listening back to some of these old things that I've done. You know, I found a track me and Gemini made that never got released. So I've been talking to Brent Aquasky, Vinyl Fanatics.
Gotta get him out, mate.
we're gonna probably release that. We're talking about it. The Liquid Alien stuff as well. That was me and Linford from Roughage Crew.
Yeah, right, nice.
Yeah, so Linford was Goldie's partner.
Yeah,
and I met him when we did. We were the first people over there to play in Canada. We done the first thing. Do you know I was the first UK DJ to be in the national newspaper in Toronto?
Way.
Yeah, I've actually got the cutout somewhere.
Yeah.
So that was apparently a big fit. Well, sorry, it was a big fit to be in the Toronto Sun. Do you know what I mean? And what they wrote was wicked. The crowd stood around the decks in awe as I was like doing it. I was like, oh wow, that's wicked.
That sounds nice.
Cutting that one out.
There you go, Dad. See, it's
working. It's working. Give me another year off.
Well, you know, funny enough, there was Goldie had put up. I think Goldie had done a similar thing with his DATs. He's going through them, and he just found one that just said T3. I was like, please tell me that's Terminator 3.
Bruv, I'm telling you now. This is no lie. He played me a version of Terminator that never ever got released. Right? You know the bit where it goes dun 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 dun, where it pitches. The whole track does that, and I'm getting goosebumps. Oh my god! It was. I was like, Goldie, you've got to release this, and he's like, oh no, I'm just gonna sit on it for a while, and I was like, mate. I'd never heard any. Remember when Terminator come out? We'd never heard anything like that at that point. And then he had this other thing that I still have never heard anything like it. It was like, it's literally whatever he did in the pitch shifting thing. Yeah. The whole track goes. It goes like ding 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 ding. It's going ding 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 ding, and it goes all the way back down and back up. It's the whole track's like that, and I was just like, mate, this is. Do you know what I mean? Like, so maybe imagine if it's that. I reckon if you released that now, it would go off. People would just lose their.
I mean, you know, Terminator was a huge, you know, it was a big landmark.
Yeah.
You know, the whole time stretching part of it.
Of course.
And it's actually.
It changed the whole face of like, how people produce.
Yeah. Well, do you know
sorry to interrupt. Going back to even Mickey Finn and Aphrodite doing the bendy bass. You know,
in
Some Justice.
Some Justice.
So you know, like. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, even now you still get people like, you know, like Mackie created this kind of like sort of sound that kind of transcends drum and bass, and like you get hardcore people playing it, you get big EDM people playing it, and you know you do get these people that come out of the music at some points and transcend, you know, and just sort of like go a level above everyone else, and everyone's trying to vie for that. Do you understand what I mean? And you know, I did it. I remember, like me and Mickey Finn were really tight. I mean, we still get on wicked, but me and Mickey were like sort of. It was me, Mickey, Carl. It was like a little group of us that all kind of mingled. And I remember when Mickey done the pitch bend thing. Of course, I was in the studio every week, so I've done something pitch bendy. Like played it to him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" And he's like, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, you can't. And he obviously got the ump because
yeah.
I just went, I just done a pitch bend. But I was inspired by him, man. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
It's
you
like
know,
the dread bass sound. It's like,
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's quite funny how, you know, things kind of maneuver and that. But yeah, interesting.
So I got another question here from DJ Nick C. He says, I remember seeing Fantasy at Swing, Red October in 92, and then at Laser Drum in 94. But my question is to ask how the DJ Unite Project records came about and a bit of background on it.
Yeah, so DJs Unite was me and Seduction. It was on my label.
Yeah.
I orchestrated the whole lot. Like John it was recorded at Jack Smooth Studio.
Because you talk a lot about collaborations in the book
Yeah,
as well,
of
and that was a
course.
big part of what you were doing.
Like, you know, I'm on a mad collaboration one now. I've got like so many collabs going on because what it is different people bring different like vibes to the project. You know what I mean? And you know, I just think it's good to kind of share an experience with someone on a project. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm very much about that, and I was about that back in the day. So we done DJs Unite. I think we made it in about 5 hours because the actual flip side is called Made in 5 Hours.
Right,
like,
yeah.
So literally, we went into Ron's and we just knocked it out. But what happened was we obviously, with the success of it, we basically done another 2 volumes, and then John and I kind of butted heads on something. It was really silly. Like we're friends now, so but we had a little bit of a falling out, but we're friends now, and you know, like John kind of was a bit cheeky, and he re-released the track without telling me, and I've had a word with him about it, but you know, I'm not gonna you know, it's just not even worth thinking. But DJs Unite was Ron Jack Smooth. He actually engineered it. Like me and Seduction made the tune, and it was the weirdest thing is, right, my wife, when it was so funny because when I met her, she didn't know who I was, which was great. Like she, you know, so I knew that. Obviously, it was
liked you for
it was my patter that got her because it couldn't have been anything else. But yeah. So the thing is I remember I was with her for about maybe 6 months or so, a year, and DJs Unite come on the radio or something, and she went, "Oh, bloody hate this track," and I went, "Are you serious?" And she went, "Yeah," and I went, "This is my track," and she went, "Are you serious?" And I went, "Yeah," and she goes, "Oh, this is so cheesy," and I was like, "Babe, this was a massive track back then." And she's like, "Ah, it's just pure cheese. I hate it." And then she really went in, "I hate it." I was like, "All right, bloody hell." And she's like, "I didn't know that you made this." And I said, "Well, no, because it's called DJs Unite. It's not Fantasy and Seduction." But we actually licensed it to an Italian label, I think, Nexus. Right. I think it was called Nexus.
Okay.
And they labelled it Fantasy and Seduction. They actually labelled it. They DJs Unite, DJ Fantasy, and DJ Seduction. So, but yeah, we did 3 volumes. We put the second one, because I done the first one on my label, the second one we done on John's label, because I told John to set up the label, and he come up with the name Impact, and that Bumblebee, that was my friend that drew that, Debs. Nice. It says, you actually see the name Debs. Yeah. So even now, it's like if I work with someone, like I just say, cool, we'll work together, but you need to set your own thing up. Yeah. Yeah, because what I want people to do is I want them to go and find new artists. Yeah. And build. Yeah. You know, like I've done. I don't want to be that guy that's trying to lock everybody off. Yeah. Like, just help people grow in it. And if you help people grow, then hopefully you'll get some good back. Do you understand what I mean? And you help people. You hope most of the time you help 100 people and 99 of them won't even look back at you. Do you know what I'm saying? That's life, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. You know, let them get on with it. They can deal with that. But you'll always get that one person that will come back and you know, and help you out and that. Do you know what I mean? But I've always been like I did just talking about this kind of thing. I did as part of the book launch. I did an AMA and Ask Me Anything on Reddit. Yeah. Now I never knew Reddit was what it was. I thought Reddit was where you watched illegal football. Sorry, I did. I just literally, whenever you said to someone, "Is there any links for the game?" they just send you a Reddit link. So I just thought it was like, anyway, it's this big, massive community. Yeah, yeah. I didn't know that, but I know it now. Yeah. So anyway, I went on there and I was a bit nervous because I thought, well, this is like, no one ain't gonna ask me anything. Like, you know, I didn't know. Anyway, I got so many questions. The guys from it were fair play to them. They were like, this is one of the busiest like ones we've had reply, because what I did is I replied to everybody. It took me hours, but I replied to everybody. But there was a couple of people that were trying to be a bit sort of smart about Mackie, and what I did is I basically answered it honestly, and I was just like, mate, what you don't understand is that guy, if you met him, he would go out of his way to help you in whatever way you needed.
Yeah.
He's one of the most nicest, genuine people I've ever worked with. Met.
Yeah.
Never mind work with.
Yeah.
I don't work with anybody. I work with people that are good people. I remember, you know, our manager now, who manages the group, Michael, he turned around to me one day and he went, I've always, like, this is before he was managing us, he goes, I've always wondered why you work with certain people and you don't work with other people. And I went, because the thing is like, I might sort of try something with someone, and if there's something that I'm not feeling, I won't just stay there for money value or for kudos. I'll just go and do my own thing, because I just, that's how I operate. Do you understand what I mean? And then I answered this thing and I said, look, you know, Mackie's one of the nice, and you know, fair play to the guys that they actually replied back to me going, mate, both of them in different ways, but they were just like, we didn't expect you to reply. Like, we thought you would ignore this one, respect. One person said, no, I respect what you're saying, and maybe I have been a bit judgmental. The other person said, thanks for replying. I respect what you're saying. I just don't like his music. And I just replied, but that's no reason to have a dig at him.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes everything. But the thing is, one thing I don't like, and people are too quick to judge someone's art.
Yeah.
You know, look, I get sent, before we come on air, I was talking to you about the promos that we get.
Yeah.
And I get, never once you ever see a negative reply from me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because why? That's somebody's art. Somebody spent, whether it's 1 hour or 30 hours making that. Who am I to judge?
Yeah.
Like, it's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I'll keep my opinion to myself. You know, if I like it, I will play it. If I don't like it, I won't play it. But I'm certainly not going to go and say anything like, oh, this is rubbish or this is crap or whatever. It's just not my style. It's not my taste. Do you know what I mean? Even more recently, like, you know, I've kind of, you know, there was like a sound that was coming I wasn't a big fan of. And then suddenly a couple of the top producers have actually produced something similar like that. And they've done it really well.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, actually, I do like this.
Yeah.
You know, we're allowed to change our minds. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think you should, like, you know, really be putting someone's art down and sort of.
I think it's just the, you know, it's the nature of just social media. Full stop.
I know, and I think. Do you know what I actually said the other day? I thought it'd be a brilliant idea. I think if they could just cut the internet off for 1 week.
Can you imagine?
Just literally nothing.
Yeah. Let
people. Like, because don't forget, these kids now, I see my kids, they don't know about nothing. They don't know anything other than what's happening right now, because that's their time. We remember before mobile phones, before social media.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that a lot of your listeners will remember that. But could you imagine if they just did an experiment and just shut the internet off for 1 week? Everything. And you had to actually get on the phone.
I mean, I hate like these TV shows, the reality shows. I can't stand them. But that's one I'd watch. Just a bunch of people without the internet.
Yeah, but the thing is, them lot do.
Positive.
Yeah, I think you're missing out, because all these shows that are on it, they are locked off from the outside world. So that's already happening. But I think if they just actually like just shut it down and just give people perspective, because I tend to, another thing I was thinking when I was thinking just in general, you know, just thinking, but you know, back in the day, I remember when we did a thing called Green Apple.
Yes, I remember Sky.
On Sky TV.
We could only listen to it around my mate's house because he was the only guy with Sky.
I remember me and Carl Cox turned up to this show in Wolverhampton, and this guy, and he went, "Oh, Fantasy, I'm a big fan. I listened to you on Green Apple. What did it call? It was Sky. It was on Sky TV, but it was called. There was a name for it, like a satellite something. The Astro Channel. That's it. I listened to you on the Astro Channel because that's what it was called, an Astro Channel. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, wicked, mate." And I was like, "What? People are actually listening." I was getting stoned. And if you listen to some of the shows, I've actually found one the other day on the Dads. I'm actually going, because there was no one shouting. I'm going, big shout to Heidi from Holland, and I was going. and me and my mate were smoking and having a right go, and I was going, Gertrude from Germany. Everything was like H from H, G from G, Iris from Iceland, and I was just making it up. And then all of a sudden, like this one day, I turned up to Jack, because this was all filmed and recorded at Jack's in his bedroom.
He said, I did not, because I used to listen to it, and I just imagine like this massive building, studio.
We were in his bed. We was in his bedroom, like recording it. Carl Cox was there. Everyone was there. It was like it was mental. Like how his missus never like went mental. Lorraine, much love to Lorraine. She's an absolute diamond. But she, we just lived there. It was like a social club. Do you know what I mean? But the thing is then one day, all these I turned up and there's all these letters, because there weren't no emails back then.
Yeah.
I actually think I still got some of the letters. There was letters from people writing like, Phantasy, we're so like, we listened to your show. Can you give us a shout? And it was, do you know what? It was actually a bit like, wow, people are actually listening. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I just did it for jokes, innit? Like, and what it is, I'm proud to say I got the most letters out of everybody on the station.
But I mean, I'm just hearing you saying this. It's mental.
Did you write to me?
Couldn't write. It's a 2-week turnaround to get a shout out. I heard the show. I'm gonna write to them. Get the letter.
Yeah,
just after the show.
I didn't really think about it like that.
There's no text shout. It's all done. Listen, do you know what? We've gone over a little bit. I don't upset. I think Probe's on next.
Oh, Probe, Ian, man, listen. Let me quickly call him and just tell him we're holding off for another hour.
Listen, mate. I know there's so much more still, because I've read the book, so I know there's more. So I strongly encourage you to read it. It's such a well written piece, and that's because the main man, Mr. Dave Jenkins, has got involved. A good buddy of mine for 20 years, and obviously with the great stories and life that the first 30 years you've had in music is just
mad. It's mad. So it's back. Do you know what? Thanks to everyone that has bought it already and left me messages. There's some of the feedback about they find it inspirational and everything like that. Amazing. So, thank you so much. Big love to everyone. Big love to all the cool London family. We need to do part 2.
Mate, I think we definitely do. All right, I'm just going to roll this one out so Probe can take over. Nice one, guys. Take it easy.